Hello, beautiful viewers. Welcome to my channel. Hope your day is going well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you appreciate the video. You might be surprised to learn what Drew Scott's ultimate career goal is. Drew Scott and his brother Jonathan may be the most successful HGTV stars, but that hasn't stopped him from dreaming even greater. You might be astonished to learn what the Property Brothers really want to do. In a recent episode of the podcast Ridiculous, Drew Scott told host Rosanna Pansino, "We're kind of the biggest brand in home, and I want to help so many more people. I want to be able to give homes away." Drew says, it's a process to get to that point. So we've been conducting some renovations, some that folks didn't expect. I call them my smash and fixes since I just walk up at someone's house. The Chasing the West star says, "I like those kinds of things. I'll never get tired of seeing the look on someone's face when you surprise them and do something that changes their life." Drew Scott also wants to be a movie star. But Drew Scott isn't staying in one lane. Drew says that in addition to having his hand in a lot of things in what he calls the home space, he is also really interested in improving his acting skills and taking on bigger and bigger roles. Drew said on the show, "I've been an actor for a long time. So, for me, I like that comedy is so different. I did stand-up, improv, and sketch comedy, I worked hard as a dramatic actor to attempt to become a good actor there." Drew says, "I like good stories. So, action movies can have lousy stories sometimes." His answer was to make it himself. "I'm co-producing and acting in a dark comedy." He said, "I play the bad guy. And I just made a new fight reel to show off. It was also a test for a new movie I just booked." They played a footage on the podcast that showed Drew fighting a group of bad guys with both martial arts and weaponry. "I don't want to do something just to make money," he remarked. "I don't want to do something just because I'm told to." Drew added, "I want to have fun, try new things, and enjoy life." Drew Scott can decide what to do next. Drew Scott has definitely earned the right to select what he does next. Drew and Jonathan Scott are the HGTV stars who make the most money. The Property Brothers have had a lot of hits on HGTV, including The Property Brothers, Forever Home, Don't Hate Your House, Brother vs. Brother, Celebrity IOU, Backed by the Brothers, and their most recent show, Chasing the West. They have also put out a call for actors to audition for, and the brothers have arrangements with rooms to go, their own wallpaper and furniture lines, and more. According to Celebrity Net Worth, their net worth is almost $100 million each, which is really astounding. Drew Scott remembers the funny word that his daughter Piper learned to say before, "Dada." What you need to know: Drew Scott states that his daughter Piper, who is 14 months old, learned to speak hippo before she learned to say dada. He tells people that Piper's favorite stuffed animal is a hippo and that it was the second word she learned after mama. The HGTV star tells the funny story while just talking to people about their upcoming program Chasing the West with his twin brother Jonathan. Drew Scott told the funny word his daughter said before dada. People recently talked to Drew and his twin brother Jonathan, 47, about their new HGTV show, Chasing the West. During the talk, Drew said that his 14-month-old daughter Piper, who he shares with his wife Linda Phan, learned the word hippo long before she called him dad. Drew says, "Mama was her first word and she said it all the time. And then months went by and I was like, come on. Dada 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 dada. Her second word was hippo. Her stuffy is a hippo. Her second word was hippo. I'm like, you can't even say dada before hippo?" He says, "Now she's saying dada, so I'm happy." Drew and Phan, who are 40 years old, also have a 3-year-old son named Parker. They announced the birth of Piper on Instagram in June 2024. Drew wrote, "Our family of 3 has grown to 4. I love you with all my heart, Piper Ray." Drew and Jonathan joked on the Jennifer Hudson show in November 2024 that Piper, who was then 5 months old, couldn't tell them apart at first. Drew added, "Piper is starting to realize that it's not me," concerning the time she spends with his brother. Jonathan concurred and said, "Now Piper knows who I am because for the first few months she was confused about why Daddy shaved." Drew joked, and they got older, wrinkled, and gray. In their most recent interview with People, the stars of the show Property Brothers said that they just spent some time with family in Scotland. Drew recalls, "We took our dad back to his hometown, then we stayed in a castle, then we went to Munich, Italy, and Zurich. It was fun to travel and get the kids used to going abroad at a young age." He says, "Our dad is 91, so if we go, it's nice to take him too. He can go back and see his brother and family. We had a big family reunion there with 60 people, and it was a lot of fun." The brothers, who grew up on a 160-acre ranch at the foot of the Rocky Mountains in Alberta, Canada, also talk about their new show. Follows expert builders and real estate agents as they help families who want to leave their busy city lives behind and move to the country. Jonathan says, "It was kind of bittersweet because we could tell all of these families what we loved about growing up on a ranch. On the other hand, I miss it. It was so much fun to be in the mountains." Drew said that filming the show was like going back in time. "We were riding horses every other day, and I hadn't ridden in years, so I was sore. Sign up for People's free daily newsletter to get the best of what People has to offer, from celebrity news to interesting human interest topics. You'll never miss a story." Drew Scott talks about his toddler's cute and surprising first words. Drew Scott, the property brother, loves being a family man and a father to 2 young kids, but that doesn't mean everything always goes his way. The HGTV celebrity told People that "Dada" wasn't the first thing his 15-month-old daughter Piper said, or even the second. Drew said, "Mama was her first word and she said it all the time. Then months went by and I was like, come on. Dada 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 dada. Her second word was hippo. Her stuffy is a hippo. Her second word was hippo. I was like, you can't even say dada before hippo? But all's well that ends well for the proud parent. Now she's saying dada, so I'm happy," he adds. Drew and his wife Linda Phan have 2 kids, Piper, who was born in May 2024, and Parker, who is 3 years old. Piper's funny twin mix-up Piper Scott may have her dad wrapped around her little finger, but not saying his name isn't the only humorous thing the cute young girl has done to keep Drew Scott on his toes. Drew said on The Jennifer Hudson Show that his daughter had trouble telling him and his twin brother Jonathan Scott apart at first. Drew chuckled and said, "Piper is starting to realize it's not me." Jonathan added, "Now Piper knows who I am because she was confused about why Daddy shaved for the first few months." Drew quickly joked back and got older, wrinkled, and gray. There have been times when Drew Scott's name has gone wrong. Piper Scott may have taken a while to say her daddy's name, but Drew Scott has had his own problems with names in the past. In a recent episode of the podcast Ridiculous, the property brother talks about how he got his 3-year-old kid Parker's name wrong not long after he was born. Drew says that his wife Linda Phan had been in labor for 45 hours before Parker was born. By the time they took their new son home from the hospital, both Linda and Drew were very tired. "We just brought Parker home from the hospital and I put him out on the street in the bassinet. One of our neighbors came over and said, 'Oh, you finally had your baby. Congratulations.' I said, 'Yes, meet Patrick,'" he recounted podcast presenter Rosanna Pansino. Drew laughed and said, "Linda looks at me like, 'Our baby's name is not Patrick,' and I'm like, 'What?' He then tells Rosanna that it is a Scottish custom to name the first child after the paternal grandfather. That is why Parker's middle name is James, after his father James Scott. But when he texted his friends in a group chat, he called his son Parker Justin." Drew Scott had the funniest reaction to daughter Piper's first words, which did not include dada. When babies finally learn to talk, it's one of the most exciting milestones for parents. Gives you a glimpse into their inner world for the first time, what they are thinking, what they need, what their interests are. And hearing your little one say mama or dada is just magical. But unfortunately for Drew Scott, it took him a little longer than he hoped to hear that first dada from daughter Piper, 14 months. The HGTV star revealed the funny reaction he had to his daughter Piper's first words, and it's so cute. The star of Chasing the West told People that her first word was mama, which I'm sure made her mom Linda Phan pleased. "Piper would say it all the time," Drew remembered. "And then months went by. I'm like, come on. Dada 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 dada. My husband and I had light-hearted rivalries to see if our babies would say mama or dada first too. But for Scott, an unexpected contender showed up. Piper's beloved stuffed animal Hippo. Her second word, hippo. Her stuffy is a hippo, the Property Brothers star told the outlet. Her second word was hippo. I'm like, you can't even say dada before hippo? Ah, poor dad. Not ranking in your daughter's interest until after her hippo toy? It's actually so relatable. Kids are brutally honest, and she must really love her hippo right now. Not to mention, kids can be stubborn, so the fact that Scott was trying to get her to say dada probably made her want to say it even less. Despite these bumps in the road, she finally learned to say dada. Now she's saying dada, so I'm happy, he added. Yay, a story with a happy ending. Scott and Phan also share son Parker 3. Recently, the HGTV star posted a video of his kids, including Piper learning how to walk, the kids celebrating their birthdays, and Parker talking. As the toddler tries to free his mom from a sea of pillows, he giggles and babbles in the cutest voice. Who cares what they're saying as long as they're happy, right? Scott talked about his daughter again in an April interview on the Jennifer Hudson show. She's such a sweetheart. She's a little darling. She doesn't comb her hair, he joked in a picture of her with messy hair. She also loves music, dancing, and her older brother. So even though it took her a while to say dada, Scott doesn't care. He's totally in love with his kids and is doing a great job as a dad. Drew Scott talks about his daughter's funny first word before dada. Drew Scott talked to Linda Phan about being a parent to his daughter Piper. Drew Scott recently shared a humorous incident about his. Drew and his twin brother Jonathan talked to the magazine while they were promoting their new HGTV show, Chasing the West. In a new discussion with People magazine, Drew revealed the very first word his daughter spoke before dada. During this interview, Drew stated that his 14-month-old daughter Piper learnt the word hippo well before she was calling him dad. Drew Scott and his wife Linda Phan have 2 kids, Parker and Piper. Drew remembered, her first word was mama, and she said it all the time. And then months are going by. I'm like, come on. Dada 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 dada. Her second word was hippo. Her stuffed animal is a hippo. Her second word was hippo. I was like, you can't even say dada before hippo? Now she's saying dada, so I'm happy, he continued. Moreover, the Property Brothers stars pondered on spending family time in Scotland. We took our dad back to his hometown, then we stayed at a castle, then we went to Munich, Italy, and Zurich. So it was fun to travel and get the kids used at an early age to visiting abroad, Drew said. Our dad is 91, so if we go, it's wonderful to take him along so he can meet his brother and family again. So we did a large family reunion there. We had 60 people together and it was a lot of fun, he added. It was sort of bittersweet because we could share what we loved about growing up on a ranch with all of these families, Jonathan commented and continued. On the flip side, I miss it. It was so nice to be in the mountains. Exclusive. Drew and Jonathan Scott reveal they were raised on the cowboy code as they return to their roots in new HGTV show, Chasing the West. Drew and Jonathan Scott are helping homeowners get their own ranch on the new HGTV show, Chasing the West. The show has made both Property Brothers want to leave Los Angeles and move to a ranch. 2 real estate icons, who are both 47 years old, have been happily living in Los Angeles for a few years. Drew lives with his wife Linda Phan and their kids Parker and Piper in a Tudor-style estate he renovated on Property Brothers at home, Drew's honeymoon house. Jonathan shares a Georgian revival home built in 1938 with his fiancée Zooey Deschanel. Nevertheless, the twins explained they got hooked into the idea of the Wild West when their latest TV franchise had them touring huge properties across Arizona, California, and Texas. Jonathan says he would think about going, but he makes it clear that he wouldn't be leaving for good. Would I spend all year alone in the country? I don't know if I would do all year, but I would love to spend more time out there. We do have an acreage within the city, so it's nice to have some breathing room. But there's nothing like having a big ranch. Acquiring extra land outside of city boundaries is something Drew attempted in recent years, but he ultimately realized the lifestyle that came with added acres wasn't what his family was looking for. Linda and I dream of having more space, but I took her a couple years ago to look at properties surrounding LA, and she didn't realize how much work it is to upkeep the kind of look that she wants, he says. Linda, I don't think, would be as into looking at the horses or the cattle or the crop. She would just want flowers and beautiful gardens everywhere, and I'm like, Linda, that's even more work on a big property. The brothers believe in the spirit of the West and want to live at a slower pace no matter where they live. They don't know if they would ever move there. Jonathan says, I think for us it's just about, really reassessing what's important in life when you have time to think, room to breathe, and no distractions. I really do think it's good for the soul. What's important? We don't want to live to work, and these days I find that a lot of people do. For Drew and Jonathan, any future featuring a country lifestyle would actually be a return to their roots, as they grew up on a 160-acre horse ranch in Canada that was nestled in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. Jonathan says, when we bought it, our beautiful 160-acre property was untouched. We had our family farm, which was right on the edge of the forestry, where it was millions and millions of acres of national park. The national trail went right through our property, so we could literally saddle up the horses and just ride for days. It was really special. Our parents searched for years and years until they found the land. When we were 14, we constructed the family ranch on that land. Drew says, we built the family barn first. Jonathan and my dad lived in the barn. I was there for a short time while they built the main house, and then we built all the fences and everything else. We had horses and crops, and our neighbors had cattle, so we shared crops and cattle with them. Drew and Jonathan believe that their unique upbringing, which included practically living in a barn for a while and taking care of the property and animals as teens, made them the hardworking men they are now. There is no doubt in my mind that the early mornings, all the ranch work, mending fences, you can't just call like a plumber or somebody to show up and fix something. Right away, you've got to do a lot of the stuff yourself, reflects Jonathan. That gave us the work ethic that we have today. So, did I love picking rocks and shoveling horse stalls? No. But would I change it or trade it for anything? No. Drew further notes that their parents raised them on the cowboy code. You're not complaining, you just get in and get it done, and you support those around you. Every way we were raised and all the lessons our parents taught us has shaped us into who we are today, and I would never trade that for anything, he says. The Chasing the West stars notably credit their father, Jim Scott, for establishing the family's cowboy code motto in the first place. Our dad, he's from Scotland, and back in the 40s he would watch cowboy movies and he just dreamed of being a cowboy, and when he was 16 years old, he worked his way over to live in the Rockies and be a cowboy, so he worked on ranches for decades, recalls Drew. It's where he met our mom, and the things he went through in life shaped who we are today with our cowboy code and how our dad raised us by it. Dad was a rancher, continues Jonathan. He rode broncs. He rode broncs in the Calgary Stampede and a bunch of other rodeos. People saw him riding a bronc and recruited him to do a Labatt ad. Got so successful that he became the Labatt Man. That commercial ran for 2 or 3 years, and that's how he got into doing horse stunts in movies. Just as Jonathan and Drew's dad made his personal cowboy fantasies come true, the brothers aim to fulfill the wishes of the buyers they work with on Chasing the West, though some will require a reality check. Drew says they were in dreamland. These homeowners were all like, it's going to be glorious. I want thousands of acres. And this one homeowner kept saying he wanted 1,000 acres, but he had never been to an acreage before. He had only looked at it online or seen it in movies. We were like, you have to go and experience it. The other homeowner, she wanted chickens, Drew shares. She wanted hundreds of chickens. She wanted a chicken farm, and we took her to a chicken farm only to find out she's deathly afraid of chickens. So it was sort of like pulling the cover off their eyes so they can actually see what they're getting into, and I was surprised that they still all moved forward with picking one of the properties. I thought some of them would run back to the city with their tail between their legs. Through providing purchasers a realistic crash course in ranch living, the brothers are able to emphasize the more delightful parts of leaving city life behind, such not having to pony up as much cash for desirable features as one might assume. Drew says, some of them didn't know how far their dollar would go. Instead of saying, I want a pool, they could have said, I want a lake. Some of these properties even had their own lake on them. Or they could have said, I just want a beautiful garden. Instead of a beautiful garden, they would have mountains on their property. It was cool to see what you could get. There were a lot of lush, green properties in Texas and Arizona. It wasn't all just a desert. The fact that they tour so many different properties really shows how each homeowner may shape their own cowboy fate. Many of the purchasers want the classic country look, but the brothers warn them not to go too far with it. A lot of people are always asking for big windows that are showcasing the view and chunky wood beams everywhere, shares Jonathan. But keep in mind, which we did see on some of these properties, sometimes too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Too much wood is a bad thing, so some of these properties were like cowboy overkill. Drew and Jonathan seem to have found that balance in themselves. They still have many of the country skills they learned as kids, even though they now live in the big city. For example, on Chasing the West, they chop wood and ride horses, which lets them compete with each other on and off screen. Jonathan beat me with the rope thing like he was a little better, admits Drew. But I don't know. I think there are aspects of the country life I would still have him on. You were tossing hay bales more than I did, confesses Jonathan. In the end, the brothers agree that when it comes to teaming up to utilize their complementing skills, whether on a ranch or in real estate, this isn't their first rodeo.